In this video, I'm going to share with you my step-by-step process for creating gorgeous, high-impact floral compositions. Hey friends, what's up? My name is Shayda Campbell, and on this channel we make art together and it is fun, not scary. Today I've got a great tutorial for you. We're talking floral design, how to lay out your flowers, how to place them together on the page so that they look good. I get tons of questions about that. Supplies really quickly. We are working on a Strathmore mixed media pad. Honestly, just some cardstock or a nice sketchbook. That's what you need, some heavy paper. And then you're going to want a pencil and eraser. I like working with a mechanical pencil. You'll want some fine liners. I love the mulatto black liners. I've got a number 4 and a number 7 here, so a larger nib and a smaller nib. And here's how we're going to get started. We begin with a guide, and the guide is just circles and ovals, showing us where those flowers are going to sit and how big they are going to be. I've got a large circle for the largest flower and some smaller circles and ovals for those smaller flowers. Then we begin to refine the guide. Place a circle at the center and then draw some lines to show yourself where the petals will sit. Then for those ovals, we place the center of the flower lower. So it sits down at the bottom there, and then you can see the petals are going to be much smaller, and that's going to give our flowers a nice concave look, get a little depth and perspective in there. And when we start to place the petals, you'll really see how that works. So those petals are much shorter on those oval flowers where you've placed the stamen lower, and even to the point where I could do just a really long thin petal in the front, and then I've got that really simple flower, but it looks like it's blooming up and out and it's got that concave element. I start to place some stems and some leaves, and the thing with the leaves is we just want to frame our flowers really nicely. So place some large leaves and some tiny leaves, and the whole thing comes together really simply. Now that you've done your guide and your sketch, we can grab a fine liner. I'm using the 07 millimeter, so it's a larger nib, and we're going to start going over everything in pen. And what I do for the stamen is just kind of a circle of little messy dots and scribbles. And then when I start to draw those leaves, I kind of wiggle the pen a little bit so that the petals don't look too smooth, too cartoon-like. We want things to look a little weird, a little wonky. We want things to look organic as they would in nature. And you can see I changed that flower there on the left. I just did that long, thin petal across the front, giving me that nice concave look. And then I'm doing the same for the top flower here. And in that way, I've got some nice perspective here. I've incorporated flowers of different sizes and shapes, and I haven't had to change the type of flower. I'm just doing a simple 4 and 5 petal flower here, but the composition works really nicely. Yes, I'm going a little fast. If you're feeling like, whoa, this is fast, don't worry, you can slow down your YouTube videos, just check your settings. But also we're going to do a bunch together. We're going to do 3 compositions, and we're going to talk shading and all of that. So the idea here is to give you the tools that you need to make your own compositions. So start with that guide, then do your sketch, then go over it in pen, and then the final step is to take that smaller fine liner and start to add like a little bit of shading. So I'm using the 04 nib, smaller pen, and I'm just adding some lines on the petals of these flowers. I concentrate a lot of the lines near the center of the flower, near the stamen, to help with that look of depth, that concave look of the flower. And then I'm also coloring in some of these little leaves. That's going to give my overall composition a nice contrast, so not everything is just white and lines. And honestly, that's about it. That one is done. We started with a simple guide of circles and ovals. We sketched in some flowers. We went over it in pen and then added some shading. Let's do this all over again, but we're going to make a different composition. This one is going to be kind of on a curve. So I'm starting by drawing in the shape of the composition, the curving line, and then I do my circles. Large circles for large flowers, smaller circles for the smaller flowers. I start framing my flowers with leaves. So drawing in some like nice oval leaves that come to a bit of a point, just framing everything really nicely. I'll add some tiny leaves as well. I like to add leaves of different sizes as well as flowers of different sizes. And that's pretty much it. You can see how kind of quickly and easily the composition comes together when you start with a guide. And then you say to yourself, okay, what kind of flower is this? And for this composition, I wanted to draw some roses. So I start with some little sort of dotting at the center, draw some messy curving lines going around, and then you kind of keep working outward, turning those little curving lines into petals. Let's get real close so you can see it. For my messy rose, I start with some dots at the center, do a little circle of curving lines, go out again and draw some sort of semicircle petals, and then maybe one more round. And these are very, very loose, very sketchy, a little bit messy, and that's okay. I think that's kind of the charm of it. With the large flowers done, we're going to continue our contour drawing by simply going around the leaves and the smaller flowers. This is a great opportunity to refine your illustration by doing simple things like wiggling that pen a little bit. Make sure your petals and leaves aren't too smooth. Make them a little wrong, make them a little weird, and that illustration is really going to come to life. Then we're going to grab our smaller fine liner. For me, it's the 04 nib, although your contour drawing, which is just your line drawing, could be done with the 04. And now you could switch to the 01 or the 02. So just grab a smaller fine liner is what I'm saying. And we're going to add lots of line shading. And what I like to do here is shade everything that would be green. So everything that's a leaf or a branch gets a lot of line shading, is darkened up. And then everything that's a flower is a little lighter, and that's a nice way to add contrast and differentiate between what is leaf and what is flower. And that's it for our second floral composition. And I want to do one more together, and I think I saved the best for last. This one begins with a rectangle, so sketch out that rectangle. You're going to give yourself a nice frame for this one. I kind of switched mine up, erase, got it the right size, and then we begin with our guide. I'm starting with 3 fairly large flowers right at center. I'm going to add stems and leaves, and I don't even have to know what type of flower they are. I just know they're large and they're round. Then over here on the right, I'm placing 2 stems, and I'm placing a bunch of small little round flowers there, as well as some kind of ones that are angled up, so they are represented by a semicircle. And then I start refining my guide, and I can place the center of the flower, show myself some lines for where the petals will sit. Or if you don't feel like you need that step, just start sketching those flowers in, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm adding in all my tiny little flowers along those 2 stems on the right-hand side of the illustration. And that's my sketch. I'm now ready to start my contour drawing, which is just my line drawing. I'm using the 07 millimeter fine liner. If that seems too large for you, just drop down and then drop down again when you do your shading. We're wiggling that pen to go around the petals and the leaves and make everything very perfectly imperfect. I think you are getting this. Now you're just doing the contour drawing. You've set yourself up for success with your guide and your pencil sketch. All you do now is go over everything in fine liner. And friends, just a reminder that I have Shayda Campbell merch available. If you would like a perfectly imperfect floral t-shirt designed by me or a feminist tote bag, all of that good stuff is available in my shop. You can shop directly through the merch shelf here on YouTube, or just click the link in the video description to check out the Shayda shop. I'm really proud of all the floral merch that I've designed, and I can't wait for you to get your hands on it, and it's a wonderful way to support the channel. Okay, let's finish this up by erasing all of our pencil marks. We can really see what we're doing, and what we're doing is filling in the entire background with black. I am taking a really large nib pen now, something like the 1 millimeter, or I think I use the 09. You could also use a brush pen, something like a Tombow black brush pen for this, for filling in. And do not worry if you're kind of eating some of the stems, some of the details that are just done in black, because that's what our white gel pen is for. I don't even know if I mentioned that in the supplies. I might have forgotten, but we do want to have a white gel pen on hand just to do this one particular illustration. So what we'll do is fill in everything. It does take a moment. You might want to put a podcast on for this. Take some time and just relax into the process. And when we are done, we've got this beautiful, really dark black design. You might want to switch to a smaller nib fine liner as you finish and just go real close to the flowers and make sure your detail work is there. I also added some more details to some of the stamens, that kind of thing. And then we switch over to our white gel pen. I'm using the Signo white gel pen. Check the supply links in the video description to purchase my supplies. And I'm filling in all of those lost stems and branches. You don't even need to know exactly where you drew them. You can kind of just start matching. If you see a leaf that's floating off in space, like these two over here on the left, just start putting some stems and branches there, and the whole thing comes together. And this is when this illustration really pops. You can also add some small leaves. You could even draw in some small flowers. It comes together so beautifully, and you have this very graphic, high contrast, very detailed looking black and white image, black and white floral illustration that you designed. You designed this. You took a blank piece of paper and you figured out a beautiful composition. Sure, you can work along with me, copy mine. Just make sure to give me credit if you do share on social media. Hashtag Shayda made me draw it. But then do another one. Make up your own. Start with those circles and ovals and do it all a little different, because you've got the tools now. You know how to make a design, an illustration. I know the blank page can be a little scary, but it doesn't have to be. And especially when you start with a guide and then you turn that guide into a sketch, and then you do the contour drawing, then you do the shading like I'm doing here, add all those tiny little lines. All of a sudden, the process is broken down into all these really achievable, simple steps. And I hope that I'm helping you to feel a little less scared of the artistic process. Feel like you can really do this, because you totally can. All right, my friends, let's finish this up. I decided this second illustration just needed a little more oomph. It needed a little higher contrast, so I added some extra shading, and then she was done. She's done. She looks beautiful. 3 totally different floral illustrations all done. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you want to support this channel, you want to make these videos possible, just hit the subscribe button. It's so easy. Just do it now. Hit the subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.